At the height of his power, he was the wealthiest, most powerful, and most feared criminal in modern history. A man who earned an estimated $25 billion a year, controlling over 80% of the world's cocaine trade. He was listed by Forbes as the 7th richest man on the planet. He was more powerful than the government of his own country. His name was Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria, the king of cocaine. He rose from the gritty streets of Medellín, Colombia, a petty car thief who transformed himself into the head of a global narco-terrorist empire. His business model was simple and brutal. Plata o plomo, silver or lead. Take the bribe or take the bullet. He waged a war not just against rival cartels, but against the very state of Colombia itself. He assassinated presidential candidates, blew up government buildings, murdered hundreds of police officers and judges, and in one infamous act of terror, bombed a commercial airliner, Avianca Flight 203, killing all 107 people on board, just to eliminate a single informant. But in a bizarre and fascinating paradox, he was also a beloved folk hero to the poor of his city. He built housing projects, soccer fields, and schools. To the inhabitants of the Barrio Pablo Escobar, he was a Robin Hood figure, a man who gave back. And in his private life, he was a doting, almost obsessive family man. He built a 7,000-acre fantasy land for his children called Hacienda Nápoles, complete with a private zoo filled with hippos, elephants, and exotic birds. He was a father who, according to legend, once burned $2 million in cash just to keep his little girl warm. He was a monster who ordered the deaths of thousands, and a loving father who adored his children. It is this profound, terrifying contradiction that defines his legacy. And when that legacy came crashing down on a Medellín rooftop in a hail of bullets in 1993, his children didn't inherit a billion-dollar empire. They inherited a death sentence and a cursed name. What really happened to the children of Pablo Escobar? In this video, we will tell the complete, harrowing, and surreal stories of Juan Pablo and Manuela, the two children of the infamous King of Cocaine, Pablo Escobar, raised in a gilded cage of unimaginable wealth and terrifying violence. Their lives were a constant paradox. They were the adored children of a man who was both a folk hero to some and a narco-terrorist who held an entire nation hostage. Their journey after his death is a story of survival, reinvention, and the inescapable ghosts of a bloody past. We will explore the incredible life of Juan Pablo Escobar, the crown prince of the Medellín Cartel, who renounced his father's violence, changed his name to Sebastián Marroquín, and has dedicated his adult life to a remarkable and dangerous mission of reconciliation with the sons of his father's most famous victims. And we will delve into the deeply private and tragic world of Manuela Escobar, the beloved princess of the cartel, a little girl who lost everything at the age of 9 and has spent the rest of her life in hiding, a ghost haunted by a name she can never, ever escape. To bring you this definitive and incredible saga, we have gone deep into the bloody history of the Medellín Cartel, read the powerful and revealing memoirs written by his own son, and analyzed the declassified documents and news reports that chronicled the family's desperate globe-trotting flight for survival after the kingpin's fall. This is the story of the human fallout from the world's most notorious criminal empire. Number 2. Juan Pablo Escobar / Sebastián Marroquín, the Son's Odyssey. He was the heir to a throne of cocaine and violence, a boy who, in a moment of pure teenage rage, promised to avenge his father's death and burn Colombia to the ground. So how did Juan Pablo Escobar become Sebastián Marroquín? An architect, an author, and an apostle of peace. A man who seeks forgiveness from the children of the men his own father brutally murdered. His journey is one of the most remarkable transformations imaginable. Born in 1977, Juan Pablo Escobar Henao grew up in a world that is almost impossible to comprehend. His childhood was a surreal mix of a Disney fantasy and a violent gangster film. He lived at Hacienda Nápoles, his father's sprawling 7,000-acre estate, which featured a private zoo with elephants, giraffes, and hippos, a go-kart track, and a collection of vintage cars. He had everything a boy could ever want. But he also lived in a gilded cage built on fear. His life was a series of safe houses, constantly on the move to evade assassination attempts from his father's enemies. He was surrounded by bodyguards, bomb blasts, and the constant, looming threat of death. He has described a father who was incredibly loving and doting to him and his sister, but who would, in the next moment, calmly order the murder of a judge or politician. Everything changed on December 2nd, 1993. His father was killed on a rooftop in Medellín. In his first raw moment of grief and rage, a 16-year-old Juan Pablo famously got on the radio and swore revenge, vowing to kill the sons of bitches who had killed his father. He retracted the statement almost immediately, realizing it was a death sentence. What followed was a desperate fight for survival. The remaining leaders of the Medellín Cartel were gone. Their rivals, the Cali Cartel, and a vigilante group known as Los Pepes, a group of his father's victims, were hunting them. Juan Pablo, his sister Manuela, and his mother, Maria Victoria Henao, were forced to negotiate for their lives, handing over the last vestiges of their fortune in exchange for safe passage out of Colombia. They tried to find asylum in multiple countries, including Mozambique and Germany, but were rejected everywhere. Finally, in 1994, they arrived in Argentina as tourists and went into hiding under new identities. Juan Pablo Escobar, the prince of the cartel, ceased to exist. In his place was a young man named Sebastián Marroquín. For years, they lived a quiet, middle-class life in Buenos Aires. Sebastián studied architecture and tried to be a normal person. But in 1999, their cover was blown. Their identities were revealed, and he and his mother were arrested on money laundering charges, a case that was later dismissed. The ghosts of the past had found them. It was at this point that Sebastián Marroquín made a life-altering decision. Instead of continuing to hide, he decided to step into the light. But not as the son of a kingpin, but as a messenger of peace. He dedicated his adult life to a mission of reconciliation. He wrote a best-selling and brutally honest memoir, Pablo Escobar, My Father, which offered an unprecedented, intimate look at the life of the drug lord. He participated in the award-winning documentary, Sins of My Father, in which he traveled back to Colombia to meet with the sons of two of his father's most high-profile victims, the presidential candidate Luis Carlos Galán and the Minister of Justice Rodrigo Lara Bonilla. The scenes of these young men, all of whom had their fathers stolen from them, finding a common ground in their shared pain, are incredibly powerful. Today, Sebastián Marroquín is an architect, an author, and a public speaker who travels the world, telling his story and preaching a message of anti-violence. He has never defended his father's crimes, but he has tried to understand the man and to use his unique position to foster peace and dialogue. His life is one of the most remarkable transformations imaginable. A story of a son who rejected a legacy of hatred and chose, instead, a path of redemption. While Juan Pablo chose to confront his father's legacy in the public eye, seeking a form of public healing, his younger sister, the beloved princess of the cartel, would choose a completely different path. For her, the only way to survive was to disappear. Number 1. Manuela Escobar, the Ghost Princess. She was her father's princess, the little girl for whom he would literally burn millions of dollars just to keep her warm. She was the absolute center of his violent, sentimental world. But after his death, Manuela Escobar vanished from the face of the earth, becoming a ghost, haunted for the rest of her life by a name she could never, ever escape. Born in 1984, Manuela Escobar Henau's childhood was even more surreal and paradoxical than her brother's. She was the cherished daughter of the king of cocaine. Her father doted on her with an almost obsessive, all-consuming love. The most famous story about her childhood is a chilling testament to his unimaginable wealth and his twisted mindset. While the family was hiding in the cold mountains above Medellín, on the run, Manuela fell ill with hypothermia. To keep her warm, her father allegedly lit a bonfire using $2 million in crisp U.S. currency. He would literally burn an empire for his princess. But her childhood was also one of extreme, terrifying violence. When she was just a few years old, in 1988, a car bomb planted by the rival Cali cartel exploded at their Monaco apartment building in Medellín. The massive blast was designed to kill the entire family. They survived, but the explosion was so powerful that Manuela was thrown, and the incident left her permanently deaf in one ear. She grew up surrounded by both incredible, suffocating love and incredible, life-threatening terror. She was only 9 years old when her father was gunned down on that rooftop. The psychological trauma of this event, on a child who had known nothing but the intense, protective, and violent bubble of her father's love, was catastrophic and absolute. She had lost her father, her home, her wealth, her name, and her entire world, all in an instant. She fled Colombia with her mother and brother, a terrified little girl on the run for her life. She eventually settled in Argentina, taking on the new name Juana Manuela Marroquín Santos. Unlike her brother, who tried to adapt to a new, normal life by going to school and making friends, Manuela struggled profoundly. She was reportedly an excellent student, but she was haunted, unable to escape the ghosts of her past. The reemergence of their family's identity in 1999, when her mother and brother were arrested and their faces were splashed across the world's media, was a breaking point. While Sebastián eventually chose to confront the past, the event seems to have driven Manuela deeper into a permanent state of seclusion and fear. According to her brother and multiple reports, she fell into a state of severe, debilitating depression and paranoia. For her entire adult life, Manuela Escobar has been a ghost. She has never given an interview. She has not participated in her brother's books or documentaries. She has refused to have any public profile whatsoever. There are almost no confirmed photographs of her as an adult. She has ceased to exist in the public world. It is believed that she has continued to live in Argentina, still under an assumed name, battling the severe and ongoing psychological wounds of her childhood. She has reportedly had multiple episodes requiring hospitalization for her deep depression. Her story is the tragic counterpoint to her brother's. While he found a path to healing through public reconciliation and truth-telling, she has been a silent victim, a life completely and irrevocably shattered by the trauma of her father's life and death. She is the true, tragic, and ongoing cost of the Escobar legacy. Together, the lives of Sebastián Marroquín and Manuela Escobar are a powerful testament to the long, dark, and inescapable shadow cast by a legacy of extreme violence. One chose to confront the past and seek peace. The other was utterly consumed by it. They are the two sides of the same tragic coin, the living fallout of the king of cocaine. This theme of the children of a notorious and dangerous public figure, a man whose actions destroyed so many lives, is one we have explored before on this channel. In a previous video, we examined the dark story of Ted Bundy, one of America's most infamous and chilling serial killers. We explored his horrific crimes and the psychology of a man who lived a double life. You can watch that chilling story by clicking the link right here. And his story has its own final mysterious chapter. The daughter he fathered while on death row. The story of her life and what became of her is a subject of intense speculation. We are currently developing a deep dive, Ted Bundy's Daughter, the Untold Story. To explore that chilling and mysterious story, be sure to subscribe and have hit that notification bell.